streaming through 5, 4, 3.
One of the things you've probably noticed if you tune in is the truth. So incredibly kind. I changed my ropes when he needed this, and he was a smart guy, and he did appoint the best people. So after a chaotic start, he's had an amazingly productive and even excellent first year as president. So I changed my mind and said, hooray. Now I'm simply waiting around for everyone else to admit that they were wrong and change their minds to agree with me. And weirdly enough, that process has finally begun because over time, everything becomes the Andrew Klavan Show. Trigger warning, I'm Andrew Klavan, and this is the Andrew Klavan Show. The mailbag is tomorrow and Mollie Hemingway is today. It's a perfect world. I mean, what else could you ask? That's like a perfect world. The mailbag tomorrow, Mollie Hemingway today. If I woke up every morning and could say that, it would be a great day. The mailbag, go on to thedailywire.com and subscribe for a lousy $10 a month, or subscribe for a lousy $100 for an entire year and get the Leftist Tears tumbler, which you will love. But also that will give you the right to ask questions in the mailbag. And the way you do it is you hit the podcast button, you go to my podcast, and on my podcast, there will be a mailbag button that you can just press that and send your questions in. The answers, you can ask about anything you want, politics, religion, personal life. The answers are guaranteed 100% correct and will change your life on occasion for the better. So that is tomorrow. So get your questions in today. I have to mention this one thing. James Damore, remember that guy from Google? He wrote what would you call it? A manifesto, I guess, where he said, that it was unfair to have quotas for hiring women, and it's very possible that women have different desires and different strengths and maybe aren't as good at tech as men are, and so they fired him. And so now he is suing, saying they, with another guy, he says they are claiming that they were belittled and punished for their conservative political views, that they are belittled for being Caucasian, that Caucasian white men, essentially conservative white men, are ridiculed and ostracized, and they're not treated fairly. And the reason I start with talking about this is because if you've been listening, and you've been listening to our podcast, the podcast I did with Knowles, Another Kingdom, this fantasy suspense story that we've been doing is an iTunes series. And it's come down to the last, we're up to number 11. There are 13 episodes altogether, so there are 2 more episodes. And it's been getting these great reviews and everything. And I said, if you help out, we can start to pitch this in Hollywood because they'll see it's popular and they'll come to me. And a couple of people have come to me. I still have a couple of pitches to do ahead of time. But the big pitch that I did was to somebody I like very much. And I didn't want to bring up their name, but now I have to. Because on Sunday night, the Golden Globe Awards were on, right? And The Handmaid's Tale won 2 Golden Globe Awards. And this is the company that I was pitching to. This is Warren Littlefield's company. He's a really nice guy, very brilliant guy. The woman who works for him is one of the best story people I've ever met. She's just terrific. I went in and pitched. As I told you when I did it, I walked in the room. They started dissing Donald Trump. The minute I walked into the room, I was able to sort of weave through tiptoe through the tulips, but, I'm always very honest. And I always tell people, I said to them, I am a completely politically incorrect person. I don't believe in feminism. This story is kind of an anti-feminist story. I knew I was taking a big risk. But now they have come forward and announced, after the Golden Globes, the entire cast of the show, The Handmaid's Tale, came out and announced that they are part of the resistance against Donald Trump. And they say there are a lot of times, and Warren says there are a lot of times we wish we were not as relevant as we are. We went into development and then in production, and the world was a very different looking place. It was not a Trump world. And then midway through the first season, the reality changed. And I think each and every day we're reminded of what we carry forward, a responsibility to Margaret Atwood's vision, and also to be part of the resistance. Now, with all respect to the guy, like I said, I think he's the minute I met him, I realized he was a class act and a really good producer and all this. There's no correlation between The Handmaid's Tale and and the world of Donald Trump. No, women are not being oppressed. Donald Trump hasn't done anything to women. Women are the same old American women they always were. If anything, there's been a kind of a lot of attention paid to sexual harassment in various business locations, and that'll die down and go away, believe me, and vanish, and it'll go back to men abusing women as they have since the dawn of time. That is what men and women do to one another. They abuse each other in different ways. But all I'm saying is, like, I can't sue. Of course, I would never do this anyway, because I just don't think it's right. But I can't sue and say Hollywood as an entity keeps me from telling a story that disagrees with this mainstream narrative, this narrative that somehow these people's artistic lives are wrapped up in attacking everything I believe in, which is not Donald Trump, but conservatism, anti-feminism, a world in which people respect different diversified points of view, in which you can be a gay guy, but at the same time you can say, you know what, as a cake maker, I don't want to cater your wedding. Those are things that I believe in. I believe in everybody being free, and I can't sue people for that. And this is one of the reasons I keep telling conservatives that you have to build entities that do this stuff, because there is no way to beat them. Believe me, every conservative I know, what they secretly want is they secretly want good reviews in the New York Times. They secretly want, Steven Spielberg to make their movie. They want Fox to produce it and all that. It's not going to happen. It's never going to happen. And if it starts to happen, they're going to make sure that their voice actually overrides your voice in everything you say. So we need these new venues and new, techniques and these kind of revolutionary ways of putting forward stories like this podcast that don't depend on them, because that is what we're up against. And it's not like Google. There's no suing them because there are a million different employees and they have the right to express their opinion. It's just that we can't express our opinions if we don't have venues as well. And people have to really start doing this, because what they're defending is a narrative. What they're creating is a narrative. And we'll talk more about that in just a minute. But first, every day I come to work here and I say to myself, gee, the building's on fire and there are bodies lying in the hall. What's going on? It's because we don't use ZipRecruiter.com. Actually, that's probably not true anymore. Actually, now we probably have started to use ZipRecruiter.com, because I notice that we actually now have talented, intelligent people. Not on this show, mind you, because this is the dumping ground, but everywhere else, we want to use ZipRecruiter.com, because ZipRecruiter.com helps you hire people in a totally different way. They post your job to over 100 of the web's leading job boards with just one click. And then what makes it different is ZipRecruiter actively looks for the most qualified candidates and invites them to apply. So instead of you going out and finding the candidate, ZipRecruiter goes out and finds them for you, grabs them by the collar, drags them in, and says, here's a job for you, and everything works out. 80% of employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate through the site in just one day. ZipRecruiter is the smartest way to hire. And right now, my listeners can post jobs on ZipRecruiter for free. That's right. That's cheap, right? That's even cheaper than money. That's free. Just go to ZipRecruiter.com/dailywire, ZipRecruiter.com/dailywire to try it for free. Go to ZipRecruiter.com/dailywire. Don't let things like this show happen to you. You could get good people to work for you.
You don't need to spell your name.
Oh, yeah, it's true. It's Daily Wire, which is not spelled Klavan. So you're on your own. So, again, I hate to keep getting diverted, but so much stuff happened yesterday. It was just fascinating to me. That football game, the Georgia Bulldogs against, this is the college champ. Now, I don't follow college football, but because I'm boycotting the NFL like everybody else, I got to get my football hit. So I went to the Georgia, and it's the Alabama Tide, the Crimson Tide. And first of all, I won't go into it because I know some people are not that fascinated with football, but the Tide was way behind. They came back 13 points, tied it at 20, 3 seconds left, got a fairly, I won't call it an easy field goal to kick, and they bring on this senior, what was his name, Andy Papanastos, and he misses the kick in the last 3 seconds of the game. So it's 20-20, and he goes out. Do we have that brief clip of him kicking? It wasn't, he didn't just miss it. Maybe not, but yeah. All right. It wasn't. He didn't just miss it. He blew the kick. Last 3 seconds. And here's this guy. He's a senior. He'll never. All I could sit there. I was just sitting. That poor guy, because he is going to have to live with that forever. But the other thing that happened that was really interesting was that Trump was introduced and he came out for the national anthem. And people are trying to say, well, people were booing, but it doesn't sound like it to me. It sounds like the crowd went wild. Here's just a little clip. You can judge for yourself.
Please rise and welcome members of the ROTC units from
President Donald J. Trump.
Yeah, so there was some booing in there, but they're really cheering for him, and they're cheering for him because he's coming up for the national anthem. And of course, the NFL, which I've always loved. I love football. I love watching the NFL. I have a hard time following the college rankings. That's why I don't follow college football. So I've always followed the NFL. They are tanking, and they are now in a very exciting postseason, and nobody is watching. Their ratings are further down than ever. And I say that I'm boycotting them, but it's not quite true. I didn't make a decision and say, until they stand up for the flag, I'm going to boycott them. The heart went out of me. I don't want to watch a game. This is America's game, the NFL, baseball. These are American games. I don't want to watch a game where they diss the flag. I just don't want to do it. I cannot bring my heart to focus on the game when these guys. Look, I disagree with their protest, but that's not the problem. They have the right to the protest. They have the right to their opinion, but that's not the way you do it, because what they're asking for are American rights. Don't diss the American flag. What you're asking me to care about you as a fellow American. Our ratings drop, all this stuff. And one guy says, a director of the University of Alabama sports communication program, I'd be stunned if any single factor contributed more than 2% to the ratings decline. And now a new survey finds that 33% of NL fans have boycotted the league because of the flag. I mean, the thing I'm trying to get to is we now live in a world of two realities, reality and the news. We live in a world in which these people, who give us the news, who give us entertainment, who give us Hollywood, they give us Handmaid's Tale, they give us football, they do all this stuff. They are living in a reality that is just them talking to each other, and the rest of us are living in the real world. The rest of us are living in the real world. These guys cannot believe that they are destroying their brand by letting these guys diss the flag. And again, it's not about their protest. They have the right to their opinions, their political opinions, just like you and me. That's not the point. The point is, you don't diss the flag, because that represents all of us in all political stripes, of all political opinions. You don't diss the flag. I mean, it's so basic, and nobody wants to watch you make $1 million throwing a ball around if you're not going to respect the country that is supporting you. So it's like this crazy world we now live in, where we keep saying to people, X, Y, Z, and they kept saying, nah, it's not that. It's like that joke, like, I have a headache, would take the nail out of your forehead. Nah, it's not the nail in my forehead, it's something else. It is, it's the nail in your forehead. And one of the things, and we're going to talk to Mollie about this when she comes on, because she just wrote a really good column about it, is this idea that Donald Trump is insane, okay? Donald Trump is insane, and somehow the country just happens to be running without him. Now, the reason I say that everything in the end becomes the Andrew Klavan show is because David Brooks, one of the most purblind writers at the New York Times, a former newspaper, is finally catching on. A little light has gone on in the little mind of David Brooks. So let us take a trip to what I like to call the op-ed page of the New York Times, or as I like to call it, Knucklehead Row.
Oh, hey, hey, oh, hey, ho, let's go waltzing down to Knucklehead Row.
So all day long, all we heard was Donald Trump is nuts, and we need to start thinking about the 25th Amendment. We need to get rid of him, blah, 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 blah. It's this nonsense. This is stuff that they talk about in the Beltway. Nobody else believes it. Nobody else is going to do anything about it. Not going to happen. It doesn't exist. It's not a real thing. It's just something that's only happening in the minds of these people, like the fact that 2% of their audience at the NFL is being lost, and it has nothing to do with the flag. That kind of craziness is just in the minds of these people. They find that Trump is a normal, good meeting and seems well informed enough to get by. Second, People who work in the Trump administration have wildly divergent views about their boss. Some think he's a deranged child, as Michael Wolff reported in this new book, Fire and Fury, but some think he is merely a distraction they can work around. Some think he is strange, but not impossible. Some genuinely admire Trump. Many filter out his crazy stuff and pretend it doesn't exist. My impression is that the Trump administration is an unhappy place to work because there's a lot of infighting and often no direction from the top. But this is not an administration full of people itching to invoke the 25th Amendment. Third, the White House is getting more professional. Imagine if Trump didn't tweet. The craziness of the past weeks would be out of the way, and we'd see a White House that is briskly pursuing its goals. The shift in our Pakistan policy, the shift in our offshore drilling policy, the fruition of our ISIS policy, the nomination for judgeships, and the formation of policies on infrastructure, DACA, North Korea, and trade. So in other words, David Brooks is suddenly noticing that things are going rather well at the White House, and so maybe Trump is not out of his mind. Maybe he's not so crazy. The alternative theory that they're now putting forward, Ross Douthat, also at Knucklehead Row, put this forward. Also, Jonah Goldberg, one of my favorite writers, put this forward. The idea that essentially the White House is being run in spite of Donald Trump. In spite of Donald Trump, everybody's running around getting stuff done. And by the way, any place you work, people think they're getting stuff done in spite of the boss. That's true anyway. That's true here. It's true any place. Everybody always thinks, as long as we can keep the boss out of the way, we'll get this stuff done. It's definitely true on this show particularly. But this is like a typical thing that people think in any organization. But obviously, the smarter, a more Occam's razor, simpler explanation is that Donald Trump has a chaotic governing style that has served him well for 30 or 40 years. It has given him success, and he keeps doing this. It's a little chaotic. It's a little bit, putting people off against each other, but it's not any different than all these other presidents. Victor Davis Hanson writes about the fact that Lyndon Johnson used to walk around and expose himself to his staff. He used to talk to people while he was on the toilet and argue with them on the toilet. John Kennedy banged so many of his staffers that they would come in, they wouldn't be able to interrupt him with important national security news because he would be between two different women at the same time. I mean, the White House has always been a slightly chaotic place. We just used to hide it a little better, but Trump thrives on it, so he's doing it. So before we cut to Mollie, because she has a lot to say about this and we want to talk about it, I just want to show you, though, the craziness on both sides, because Brian Stelter, what do they call him? They call him something like Mr. Potato Head. They have some funny name for him because he's such a dope. He is now putting forward this craziness idea, and he's doing it like he's never mentioned it before. He's been talking about it for a year, and suddenly he's going to be brave. He is going to be brave and speak truth to power. He's going to come out with it. Here's Stelter making his case.
I'm having hysterics. I'm hysterical. I can't stop when I get like this. I can't stop. I'm hysterical.
Maybe that wasn't the real Brian Stelter. Let's listen to the real Brian Stelter.
The tiptoeing is over. The whispers are turning into shouts. President Trump's fitness for office is now the top story in the country. Reporters and some lawmakers are openly talking about the president's mental stability, his health, his competency. Now, partly that is because of this new Michael Wolff book. Wolff claims that White House aides are united in the belief that Trump is incapable of being president. But, and here is the but, journalists are not judges or doctors. This is not a court or a hospital. What this moment needs from reporters is more reporting. Not more speculating or guessing or rumor mongering, but more real reporting of what's going on.
There's a guy rumor mongering and speculating while calling for more reporting and less rumor mongering, speculating. But lest we think that all the craziness is on the left, I have to play Alex Jones' reaction to Brian Stelter. This is priceless.
But just look at Stelter again. Put him on screen. I think all the broadcast should be is just a photo of Stelter smiling. Oh my gosh. Oh, hell on earth. He wants to run your life. He wants to control every aspect of your life because he knows he is a cowardly, degenerate sack of anti-human trash. I pledge before my Heavenly Father that I will resist them every way I can. These people are the literal demon spawn of the pit of hell. Look at him. And you know what? He is better than you if you keep letting him run your life. He runs your kids. He runs the schools. He runs the banks. This guy, this spirit, this devil that thinks you can't see, he is all the narcissist. I see you, enemy. I see you, enemy.
I love it. This show has become like a little, board of sanity floating in a mad world. I love it. I love it. All right. But you're saying, yes, but why do you look so great? Well, it's because I work out constantly. And one of the ways that help you work out is Beachbody On Demand. It's an online fitness streaming service, gives you unlimited access to a wide variety of highly effective world-class workouts, personalized to meet your needs. Beachbody On Demand also includes extensive nutritional content, all proven to help people achieve their health and fitness goals. And one of the reasons I like it is because I travel. You can see it on your phone. You can see it on your computer. You can tap into all kinds of great programs like P90X, Insanity. If you've never tried P90X, that'll wake you up. It's really something. All you do to give the service a try and get a free trial membership if you text Andrew to 303030 on your phone. Text Andrew to 303030 on your phone. You get full access to the entire platform for free. All the workouts and nutritional information for free. Just text Andrew to 303030. Beachbody On Demand. You get the workout, you get the nutritional stuff. It really is an excellent service, and you can take it with you anywhere you go. One last ad before we get to Mollie. That's Tuesday. Is the conversation with me and Alicia. You can ask any question you want. That is next Tuesday, right? At 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific. We got to say goodbye to Facebook and YouTube, but come on over to thedailywire.com and you can listen to the rest of the show or subscribe and watch the whole thing right there.